Welcome back. I told you guys we are on fire here at the Law&Crime Network. Are you having fun yet? Brian just did a great breakdown, but I got another guest. I got him coming out all over the place. Now it's Gene Rossi, my friend from D.C. He's going to talk with Brian and me about Kavanaugh. Just to give it to you quick, because we need to do it quick. We got a guy 27 years at the Department of Justice, 110 trials, 90 jury trials, folks. That's off the hook. He's got so many different awards, so on and so forth. But my favorite, and I found out a little bit more out about him, is he actually shot 41 points in one game as an all-state basketball player in Connecticut, and then the following week shot a 40-point game. Hey, Brian, Gene, welcome back to the show.
Holy cow. What do I say now?
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, think about it, because we're going to have Brian just give us a quick rundown on what's going on in this Kavanaugh matter, because that's getting heated up, too. What did you find out for us?
Well, with the hearing set this Thursday, with the first accuser against Kavanaugh, he's going to testify, and she's going to testify, Christine Ford. Overnight, a second person has come forward in a report by The New Yorker with two great journalists, Ronan Farah and Jane Mayer. They reported a woman who was at Yale with Kavanaugh as a freshman, participated in some sort of drinking fest in which he supposedly exposed himself, and she was made to touch his private parts. Her name is Deborah Ramirez, but she admits there are gaps in her memory, as she at first didn't want to come forward, and says she was drinking heavily. So Farah was asked this morning on CNN why they went ahead and reported this with so many questions about her credibility.
She remembers vividly Brett Kavanaugh laughing at her during this incident, pulling his pants up afterwards. Another classmate who she identified yelling down the hall, Brett Kavanaugh just put his penis in Debbie Ramirez's face. She remembers finding this extremely traumatic. She was devoutly religious. She had not engaged in this kind of activity before, and it was a significant incident for her. So much so that, you know, even given the fact that she was inebriated, not blackout drunk, capable of remembering things confidently, but inebriated, this was something that always stayed with her.
But she doesn't explicitly remember the moment. Correct, Ronan?
She does remember the moment at all.
Okay.
She does remember the moment as well.
Judge Kavanaugh calls that a smear, plain and simple.
Wow, that is just unbelievable. And, you know, listen, I got to go to Eugene. I know you also know Rosenstein, by the way, oddly, but on this Kavanaugh matter, I've been kind of shocked personally at how people are identifying this just basically on politics. Should there be full hearings here? Should there be opportunities for witnesses to come forward and real examination? What do you make of all this? Where are we going?
Here's where we're going. I predict this. In 10 days, unless Donald Trump is certifiably insane, he is going to withdraw Brett Kavanaugh. And here's why. I'm not discounting what happened to Dr. Ford. What happened to her was horrendous. There was an attempted rape. He almost smothered her, allegedly. This incident is more serious, and I'll tell you why. Not in terms of the crime, but he was asked under oath, when you became of age, 18, do you have any incident where you harassed somebody who did something inappropriate? That was the question. And let me tell you this. If Ms. Ramirez is telling the truth, and I think she is, this is not an event a judge on a D.C. circuit will forget. That you expose, if it's true, you expose yourself to a female at Yale. This is a prank. He was part of a fraternity that did this stuff. And if it is true, if it is true, it's disgraceful that someone took an oath and lied before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I want to say this, Bob. I have a lot of trouble with his testimony before these two incidences. A lot. This is icing on the cake for me. Where does it lead? He should withdraw his name now. The Federalist Society Board of Directors is probably meeting right now, and they're saying, folks, we got 5 to 10 other people with much less baggage than Brett Kavanaugh. Let's tell the president, yank him and give him somebody else, including several women. That's where we're going.
Well, Brian, what do you think about this? I mean, the argument that's being made there, and it's been made before so far, is that it's not just the substantive allegations, but it's the idea of whether or not he's been candid during his hearing. And should a judge, especially a judge of the highest court, any judge for that matter, shouldn't we expect pristine truthfulness from these individuals when they demand it of others? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's exactly right. And what Gene says is true, and someone is not telling the truth here. He has said this never happened, this is a smear, plain and simple. So either he's telling the truth or the two women are telling the truth, but it doesn't seem like both can be telling the truth. And yet there's another potential accuser, a lawyer, Michael Avenatti, says he has a third woman who's prepared to make serious allegations against Brett Kavanaugh during his high school years.
Well, I'm going to take maybe a centrist position between both of you guys and say this. One thing that does concern me is, are we at a state where somebody could be at a high-level position, whatever it may be, and somebody can come forward with 30-year accusations, which we clearly understand the nature of these, and that happens all the time. I've prosecuted those cases, and they can just outright scuttle a nomination of an individual or smear the reputation of a person without any kind of due process. So I've been concerned about that, but I've also been concerned about the fact, for example, with Miss Ford, Dr. Ford, that Grassley won't call supposedly a witness that was in the room, and that they're not doing it the right way either. I'm talking about process, guys. Gene, what do you think about that? Do you think that we should have a better process?
I wanted to add this, though. I feel very strongly about Judge Kavanaugh. It's obvious. But here's the thing. I believe in due process. I believe in fairness. We were both prosecutors, and there are two sides to every story. Sometimes you have conflicting stories that could be both accurate. But what we need at a minimum is an investigation. We need 3 or 4 FBI agents assigned to Ms. Ramirez and to the Dr. Ford investigation, have them do 302 reports, interview witnesses who may have any knowledge at all, interview that one person. In that New Yorker article, there's a male Yale graduate who says, I remember it today, the rumor mill that this actually happened, and it was Brett Kavanaugh. Interview him. See what those reports come up with. And if it's a tie, if the reports show that there's nobody with a good recollection and that Dr. Ford and Ms. Ramirez, they're hazy, then at least we investigated it. But I want to end with this. We are putting a human being on the Supreme Court for the rest of her or his life. You have to do due diligence. And if I applied to the U.S. Department of Justice and I had these allegations in my background, I would never have been cleared if they are true. But they have to be investigated. They're too serious.
Gene, you bring up a very good point. And Brian, I'd like to throw this to you. I mean, people seem to think that this is the kind of thing that's happening, in that if it happened to anybody else, he wouldn't be treated this way. But I agree with that point. If somebody came into my office and there were allegations made of that, it would be fully investigated. I would have a team of investigators and lawyers looking into it. And I find that there's so much confusion here, like people saying, aren't you innocent until proven guilty, and proof beyond the reasonable doubt. Those are standards for criminal prosecution as a defendant. They do not exist in a hearing when we're putting somebody on the highest court of the land, or for any civil matter for that sake. So,
well, that's true, but I think what's missing here is what Gene says, a full investigation that's not done, in an open hearing session, but it's done behind the scenes to try to get to the basis for all these allegations. Are these women credible? Are there witnesses that back them up or knock down their stories? And we just don't know that. And I don't think a Senate hearing is the perfect place for that to be played out.
Well, let me ask you, to throw it back to you real quick, Gene, as a last point. Do you not think in the future there should be like a quote-unquote statute of limitations where they say you have until this time if you have anything to say about the character of this person, so that we can fully and fairly investigate it, so we don't wind up in a scenario in the future where it could happen to Democrats too, where late allegations come forward and these hearings can never be concluded? What are your thoughts?
I don't agree with that. With the utmost respect to you, Bob, I don't agree with it. Dr. Ford is a good example. What happened to her when she was 15 years of age was incredibly, incredibly traumatic. And she held it inside for decades. And she knew that Brett Kavanaugh was a high-powered attorney, connected. But when it came to him becoming a member of the Supreme Court, she couldn't hold back anymore. And that's why I don't think we should have a statute of limitations. But when an allegation is made, and these are just allegations, even Mr. Avenatti's client or clients, but we should investigate them, but no statute of limitations because people hold back.
Right. No, I don't
afraid.
disagree with that, and I'm using statute of limitations as euphemistically, if you will. But let's not forget in this particular case that they had these allegations sitting in that file, and during the regular course of the hearing did not seek to have them investigated and did not bring it up during the testimony. And to me, that's just a little problematic. But anyway, I appreciate the opinions of both of you guys. It's tremendous. I love having you as my guests on here. I think you have to go, Brian, but I'm going to still stick with Gene. You did a great job. It's been a great honor to
be here.
Be able to interview a guy like you.
And the hearing coming up Thursday and the meeting between Trump and Rosenstein, quite a day coming up.
Yeah, we look forward to your reporting. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, listen, let's just take a little break because I'm on fire here. You see the real pro. He's as cool as a cucumber, but we got top crime stories coming up, and we'll be back on the other end.